First of all, I do want to thank you for inviting me here to speak to you today. It's great to be here for this launch event, not only for the Research Centre for Arts and Wellbeing, but also for its manifesto. And I do encourage you to read it. It's a really fantastic document. And I want to congratulate Professor Carter Vicky and her team on all of the brilliant work that's got everyone to this point. It's also great to be back here at Edge Hill University. I always tell everybody this is a university that actually has on its campus a beach. If you don't believe me, I know it's in Ormskirk, and you may not think there will be a beach in Ormskirk, but there is out here a beautiful beach, which is lovely in the summer. So it's one of my favourite campuses around the country. And I've been a regular visitor here over the last 8 years that I've been doing this job. And I've always been really impressed by the important role that Edge Hill plays in so many ways, in teaching the next generation of creative talent, in the quality of the internationally significant research, but also the job it does, as so many of our universities do, as a major civic institution here in the Northwest. And though we're here to celebrate something brand new, it's true to say that the connection with wellbeing has a long history. In ancient times, the god or goddess who was connected to health was often the same one who was in charge of arts and culture. And in fact, the word culture, in its modern sense, takes its meaning from its older usage, which is still seen in the fancy words for farming and gardening, agriculture and horticulture, and that sense of caring and nurturing something. And in that first new usage, culture was used to describe as caring and nurturing something too. It was about caring for the soul, or in the modern sense, caring about one's own well-being. And in the manifesto, Professor Carter talks about the challenges we face to maintaining our well-being, including experiencing loss and feeling lonely. And she says, and I quote, "Turning to the arts may give us the sanctuary that we need." So it seems really clear that culture still has its role to play in caring. And at the Arts Council, we know that investing in arts organisations, in museums and in libraries creates many, many benefits. Or to use an investment term, it pays dividends. And we've long recognised that those dividends include the health, well-being and happiness of individuals. And that became even more apparent during the pandemic. When the first lockdown happened, people looked to creativity and culture to improve their well-being and to make them happier. Whether that was picking up a new instrument to learn or turning to the digital offering of theatre, opera and dance companies. It also gave new drive to projects and programmes that work in the areas of arts and wellbeing. So the Arts Council's work and investment in this area predates the time that COVID-19 cast its shadow across so many aspects of our daily lives. The connection between the Arts Council and wellbeing goes back a long way. I mean, even before the Arts Council was actually the Arts Council. We are the direct successor to the wartime Council for the Encouragement of Music and the Arts. And during the Second World War, Rav Butler, who would go on to become Chancellor of the Exchequer, described Sina's aims as to bring pleasure and the highest inspiration to millions. And that showed that when all thoughts were on investing in the war effort, investing in culture was still seen as being worthwhile because of its well-being dividend. And when the war ended, and many of our villages, towns and cities were in need of repair, the happiness and inspiration the arts could bring was still seen as key to well-being of the nation. And as our first chair, John Maynard Keynes, said in a BBC broadcast when the Arts Council was created, "Your enjoyment will be our first aim." And the vital role that creativity and culture can play in well-being has run through our work ever since. And I should say here that I include the terms happiness, enjoyment, life satisfaction in this definition when I'm referring to well-being. In 2008, we published our joint compact with NHS England. It set out the important part that creativity and culture can play in supporting the well-being of every community and public health in general. And we've continued to look at what more we can do to explore this area of work, including our collaboration with the Bearing Foundation, which began a decade ago. This included the £3 million Celebrating Age programme, which ran across 5 years. It saw 31,000 people, almost 3/4 above retirement age, become creators, artists and curators across 2,500 activities across 30 different projects. And the project spanned a huge range of art forms, including workshops, events, festivals, exhibitions, and performances. And they took place not just in arts and cultural venues, but also, for example, in care homes. In fact, a key aim was for arts organisations to be taking art to everyday places where older people might find it easier to take part. More than 500 partner organisations were involved, and I think that the impact of the programme is summed up by one participant's comments. And they said, "This has really enriched my life. I used to sit at home a lot, but now I see my friends. I love to be sociable." And we were proud to be a partner on the Arts, Health and Wellbeing All-Party Parliamentary Group report on creative health in 2017. In this field, it remains a pace setter for practitioners and policymakers alike. And we're pleased to continue to work closely with the National Centre for Creative Health, whose formation came as a direct result of that report. And there's an updated report from the committee due later this year, and I expect it to be extremely influential in informing future work in this area. More recently, we've supported the £1.8 million Thriving Communities Fund, and it saw almost 11,000 people connecting with others through social prescribing activities. It focused on those most impacted by health inequalities and COVID-19, and this was also a real collaboration. It brought together the National Academy for Social Prescribing, Historic England, Sport England, Natural England, the Money and Pension Service, as well as a number of partners in the National Health Service. And across 36 projects, it saw people taking part in activities from canoeing to crochet, from photography to paddleboarding, and from sport to spotting wildlife. And the participants included young carers to armed forces veterans, those who'd recently been bereaved, to those with long COVID. And the evaluation report for the project showed that Thriving Communities made a real positive difference to the well-being, mental and physical health of those taking part. And it improved their social connections. In our own strategy, Let's Create, we set out a vision for a country transformed by culture and creativity, bringing us together, happier, healthier, enriching our lives. In Let's Create, we talk a lot about the link between health and well-being and creativity and culture. In fact, we talk about it 15 times, to be precise. We absolutely believe that investment in creative activities and cultural experiences must be seen by policymakers, decision makers, and society as a whole as a fundamental part of living well. So you can see the commitment and the connection between the arts, creativity, and culture to happiness, well-being, and health in the Arts Council's DNA. It links to our role as a development agency and a champion of creativity and culture right across England. Our role is to advocate for, to invest in, and to nurture the growth of the creative and cultural sector. Last summer, we gave that commitment a boost with the launch of our Creative Health and Wellbeing Plan. It's part of our belief that creative health, the connection between creativity and the health and quality of people's lives, will bring value to everyone, whoever they are and wherever they live. The plan will also allow us to deliver more effectively against the vision of Let's Create. The concept of creative health covers a really broad range of people, practices and partnerships. And in the plan, we view it from three perspectives: prevention, treatment and recovery, and acute care. We think that in the area of prevention, arts organisations, museums and libraries can promote good habits, provide social connections between people, and help with positive behaviour. That includes our own work during lockdown in providing Let's Create packs to children to encourage creativity and promote well-being when schools had to remain closed. In treatment and recovery, many cultural organisations are working together with health partners. Just down the road from here, the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra, another of our national portfolio organisations, has been delivering the music and health programme for 14 years with Merseycare NHS Foundation Trust. It delivers inpatient and community services. Its work is very, very broad-ranging, including high-quality music making, informal learning opportunities, composition, songwriting, improvisation, and the provision of courses through Merseycare's Recovery College, including singing and music appreciation. It's already worked with 17,000 people, and aims to make that 20,000 by the end of the year. And in acute care, there's some really interesting work being done by another of our new national portfolio organisations, the London-based Hospital Rooms. It works in some of the most challenging mental health settings, using art to transform the environments. In the East Midlands, Opus Music, another new national portfolio organisation, performs live music on hospital wards and at bedsides for patients, visitors and staff to listen to and join in. To make sure that our work and investment through the Creative Health and Wellbeing Plan pays the most immediate wellbeing dividends, we're now focusing on 3 areas. The first one of those is partnerships. We've shown we can work effectively through partnerships, and we want to strengthen those connections. Working closely with the NHS, public health and others, including the National Academy for Social Prescribing. It's about championing and growing the recognition of the benefits of creativity and culture to wellbeing and health outcomes among NHS and healthcare partners. And also making sure we're helping to connect them with the creative and cultural organisations who are already working or who want to expand their work into creative health. It means increasing our understanding of the wellbeing and health dividends of creative activities and cultural experiences, including a better understanding of the social and economic factors that can influence people's health and well-being. The next of those areas that we want to focus on is place. And we already have at the Arts Council a really strong and well-developed approach to working with communities and with organisations that centre their work on reflecting the community that they're part of. It's what we call place-based work. We want to weave the health and well-being dividends much more deeply into that. And by doing this, we can really make sure that people living in villages, towns and cities across England get the most benefit from the work we're doing in creative health and well-being. It's about shifting away from health projects as an activity and moving towards health and well-being benefits as being an integral outcome of the work that artists, arts organisations, museums and libraries do every day. Creative and cultural buildings are, as we know, a focal point for communities. And many already host creative health projects or are used by health and third sector organisations as venues. And we'll be looking at what more we can do to promote cultural buildings as assets to support health and well-being in communities. The third of those areas we're focusing on is practitioners, and we want to grow ambition and support innovation through our investment programmes, making sure that we're developing and helping to develop skills in this field among creative practitioners. We also want to make sure that we're supporting practitioners' own health and well-being. You all here in this room don't need me to tell you that healthcare and well-being settings can be challenging and demanding places to work. And it's important that we support those who choose to do creative and cultural work in this area. I'm really pleased to say that 1/3 of all of the organisations in our new national portfolio, which started in April, will be delivering work in creative health and well-being over the next 3 years. 1/3 of almost 1,000 organisations. And we've also quadrupled National Lottery project grants to creative health programmes over the past 5 years. And that investment now stands at £16 million a year. A big part of our work in delivering our Creative Health and Wellbeing Plan is the creation of the National Creative Health Associates Programme. And we've invested £660,000 into this programme. It's being delivered for us by the National Centre for Creative Health. And we think it will be a step change in both delivering creative health across England and in the way it's viewed within the health system. 7 associates will be based in an integrated care board in each of the 7 NHS regions across England, including here in the North West. And they'll be supported by a creative health programme manager and by a combination of peer support and the development of their leadership skills. The ambition is that it will bring together those working in the health and creative and cultural sectors to explore chances to integrate creative health within healthcare, and in doing so, making it a tangible part of the health offer. We think that this team will improve understanding about the potential contribution of culture to the health and social care sector at many different levels, and we think it'll support the growth of social prescribing. It'll also feed into the continuing development of partnership working at local, regional and national levels. And we know that this is vital for the success of creative health and wellbeing projects. this is not just about the health and social care sector learning about the value of creative health, though. We want to help the creative and cultural sector to improve their understanding of and participation in health and wellbeing work too. And we want to see a better understanding and knowledge of the existing provision, networks and partnerships. And for that to be accessible and available to both creative and cultural practitioners and to health professionals. We also want to create a sustainability plan so that the learning from and funding for this work is continued. It's our aim that the wellbeing dividends of this investment will not just pay out in the short term, but in the long term too. Now, I've become very interested in wellbeing and happiness and the role of positive psychology over recent years. And during lockdown, my lockdown hobby was that I studied for a master's in applied positive psychology. And it was one of the most personally rewarding things that I've ever done. And I wrote my dissertation on happiness as a public policy goal. But how does this relate to what I've been talking about in terms of the wellbeing dividend that I've been touching on throughout this speech? And how does it relate to my day job at the Arts Council? Well, I've shown, I hope, in what I've been saying so far, that they are linked. That through investing in the kind of creative health projects I've touched upon, arts organisations, artists, museums and libraries can have a meaningful role to play in helping to reduce inequality, in helping to improve mental health, and in helping to build community. And I believe that our job at the Arts Council is to create happier lives. That's what makes me get up in the morning, creating happier lives. And we invest taxpayers and National Lottery players' money in creative individuals and cultural organisations who improve the lives of people in villages, towns and cities right across England. And doing my job, you'd perhaps not be surprised to learn that much of my day is spent cheerleading for the value that the arts, creativity and culture brings to everyone's life and to the country as a whole. Often though, that value can be hard to put a price on. It's intrinsic and therefore traditionally has been difficult to quantify on balance sheets in pure monetary terms. You might think that's a bit of an artistic pop-out rather than an economic thing to say, but a similar concept is one that a well-known credit card company has used as a major part of its advertising campaigns for almost 25 years, listing the cost of individual items that do have a monetary value before declaring an overall experience they contribute to, usually a moment of well-being, happiness or joy, as being priceless. And in the creative and cultural world, things are quite often referred to as priceless, usually works of art that hang on the wall. Though in reality, they do have a monetary value too, either for insurance purposes or if they've been bought through an auction house or private gallery. At the Arts Council, we do talk about the tangible economic benefits that creativity and culture bring to the country, be that people who are employed in the sector, the overseas tourists whose trip to England includes taking in our galleries, theatres, concert halls and museums, or the footfall that those same venues generate on our high streets for those visiting from closer to home. The Arts Council also recognises that beyond the market price, the revenue from theatre tickets that are sold, from fridge magnets, posters, toys and books bought in museum shops, or sandwiches and cups of tea consumed in gallery cafes, the intrinsic value that creativity and cultural experiences and organisations add to the lives of people and to the communities they live in needs to be quantified too. So often, it's a commodity that's overlooked in cost-benefit analysis, in many cases being valued at nothing at all. So we've got something there, on one level, is priceless, and on another level, is seemingly worthless in the blink of an eye. And the Green Book is the Treasury's guidance on how to evaluate policies, projects and programmes. It talks, I'm pleased to say, of the importance of taking into account cultural assets in decision making as part of the public value, including all costs and benefits that affect welfare and well-being. Or to put welfare and well-being another way, that's happiness. I mentioned our first chair right at the beginning of this talk, John Maynard Keynes, and he wasn't an arts administrator, a performer or a curator. He was an economist. An indication that the value of the arts to our nation's well-being has always been tangible as well as intrinsic. We've always been about the well-being dividend of investment in creativity and culture. Looking to the immediate future and our work in the field of creative health and well-being, we're working with the Cultural Health and Wellbeing Alliance to develop a quality framework to help practitioners, commissioners and ourselves have a shared sense of what good looks like. And from next year, we'll be looking at how to integrate creative health into our delivery plan more fully for Let's Create. And in the very short term, I'm also immensely looking forward to seeing later this afternoon a new piece of work that we've helped to fund together, Untethered. I'll talk about that, more about that later on. I began by mentioning that the connections between creativity and health and well-being have existed from very ancient times. And during the pandemic, I was struck by the hundreds of thousands of rainbows that appeared in windows across the country, drawn by children and their families to show support for frontline health workers and also to lift their own spirits and help maintain their own happiness and well-being. And maybe investing in the Wellbeing Dividend is not just in the Arts Council's DNA, but in the DNA of us all. I believe the commitment we've made to creative health and wellbeing through the plan published last summer and the underlying principles of Let's Create will mean more people in more places will share in the wellbeing dividend. That happens because of our investment of taxpayers and National Lottery players' money in creativity and culture. It will help more people in more places to be brought together to lead more fulfilled, healthier, happier lives. And that will make me happy too, because it would make everyone's life better by increasing access to the best creative activities and cultural experiences, meaning everyone can share in the wellbeing dividend. And for me, there is no better reason to invest public money than that. Thank you for all the work that every single one of you in this room is doing to help make this happen. Thank you again to the team here at Edge Hill for all that you're doing to lead the practice, thinking and innovation in this area. I wish everyone involved in the Edge Hill University Research Centre for Arts and Wellbeing every success. And at the Arts Council, we're looking forward to working with you over the coming years and enjoying a very long and very creative partnership with you. And thank you to everyone here for listening this afternoon.